going on, everybody? Welcome in. It is Michigan week. We have finally made it to a football team that will be competitive against us after a drubbing of the last 2 weeks. I got a full preview coming up today. We got a lot to break down for the Michigan Wolverines. I'm going to go into a little bit of their all-22 footage, just showing a little bit of their offense. And I'm going to tell you straight away to dump the Oklahoma game out of your mind. If you're looking at the Oklahoma game for any kind of confidence in this week's game, I can tell you what they're going to be running offensively is not going to look anything remotely like they did against Oklahoma. So just pretend that game didn't exist. Don't look at that one. Central Michigan will be a game that we're going to look at to see what they're going to do offensively, a little bit defensively. But I think the biggest thing is seeing what our defense is going to do against that offense. So, Brian, how you doing today, man?
I am worried about this game, so that should tell you how I'm doing. I think it's going to be a tough one, a lot tougher than people are led to believe. For whatever reason, there is a weird confidence right now.
I am worried about this game as well. Not worried in the sense that I think we're going to lose, but I am worried. It's tough game. Bryce Underwood I don't think he's getting the respect he deserves because, again, I think people are week one. I talked to you and I'm like, Bryce Underwood's a damn good quarterback, and people were saying he wasn't. And week 2 came, and he's still a damn good quarterback. I don't care how he played. And week 3 showed it, right? I'm going to get into the reason why he showed it week 3 versus week 2, and why that's going to be scaring us coming this weekend, because there's some reasons why. Now, looking overall, first off, Nebraska, credit to them going out and handling business. You weren't here for the post game, but I held it down for us. But pretty straightforward to the point. 59-7, didn't quite drop 60. But coming into this game, Michigan comes in as a slight favorite. We are home dogs. So overall in the score prediction, do you feel the spread kind of fits your thoughts on this game?
No, I think Nebraska is their offensive line and their running game is way better than what I think our defensive line and our rush defense is. I think Michigan probably takes this game with relative ease, if I'm being honest.
I think we're closer than you think. So we may disagree there. I don't think.
Yeah, I hope I'm the Debbie Downer of this right now.
But it's okay. It's okay. It's nice that we disagree for once. But Michigan is tough in essence. And one of the biggest things that is going to happen this week that didn't happen against Oklahoma. So what it looks to me like against Oklahoma, I think they wanted to really take the air out of that game against Oklahoma. I really do. I think they want to take the air out of that game against Oklahoma. I think they really wanted to make sure that they tried to limit the possessions as much as possible. They didn't really give Bryce Underwood much of a leash, if you will. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that was, whose call that was by design. I don't really know who made that decision, whether that be with Sharon Moore, whether that be with Chip Lindsey. But Chip Lindsey, from what I saw in the press conference, he's given Bryce Bryce has a green light now. And early on in the year, that wasn't the case. Again, they if we can't looking at the Oklahoma game, they came out against Oklahoma and they ran 11 zone runs and 18 gap runs, 1 scramble. So again, they were trying to come out and just kind of air, run the air out of the ball a little bit, if you will. Coming against Central Michigan, they had 20 zone runs and 23 gap runs. So they went a little bit more of the zone scheme, which is a little bit more favorable for that scrambling type of quarterback. And I'm going to show it to you a little bit on the film. Just kind of, we're going to see a lot of those RPO looks. Kind of a lot of what I saw against Cincinnati, where they're going to be just disguising the blocking as if it's going to be a run. Everything's going to kind of look the same, and then they're going to be bringing RPOs off of that. And not only, they're going to have routes accessible everywhere on the field. We're talking 4 or 5 routes out there, special leak out routes. This defense is going to have to be extremely, extremely disciplined and staying home and staying in their responsibility and doing their job. I'll let you go ahead and take it off at that point, and then we'll go into a little bit more.
Yeah, my biggest concern is this defensive line, and I go back to the Cincinnati game, which I know was week 1, but I just haven't seen a ton of improvement. Even last week, I mean, you gave up 85 rushing yards to that one running back. Granted, half those was on a 45-yard touchdown run.
That was bottled up.
where we bottled them up and then he busted it the other way. Teams are averaging over like 3.5, I think maybe over 4 yards per carry on first down against Nebraska. Houston Christian, more athletic than Akron. But the interior defensive line, I go back, I rewatched the Cincinnati game, and there was times where Nebraska started to adjust, where they would start stunting more or they would slant more. And I saw a play in which Elijah Judy was pushed back 20 yards, literally 20 yards from the 19 to the 41-yard line is where he eventually was put to the ground. And he was driven by a single lineman the whole way. The interior defensive line is a huge problem going into this game. And I think Michigan is just going to hammer it home. We're too small up front. Our average weight is probably 280, 285 between our two defensive tackle spots. Their interior offensive line is like 330 plus across the board. It's a huge concern.
I will caution you, it's not the same Michigan line as it was before, too, and they have moving parts. So they're still trying to figure that line out, too. I think Jake Guarnera, they're just got the start there because they were down a lineman. So they're kind of figuring out their line as they go too. So it's not this bully you in the trenches Michigan team that we normally get. Their D-line has issues too. They're worried about their D-line too. They're worried about their offensive line in some ways too. I mean, in comparison to normal Michigan offensive lines. But again, like what Nebraska is going to have, what Nebraska can do differently that they didn't do against Cincinnati. Again, getting blown 20 yards off the ball wasn't necessarily the issue against Cincinnati. It's just you got to be more aggressive. You got to get downhill quicker. You cannot sit here and just try to be like, okay, Bryce, he might throw. Let me just sit back and just kind of laterally scan. You got to be able to step up and fill those gaps and get in there and get in the box and force him to beat you. I think the biggest thing that's going to come down to this game is how the intermediate part of the field plays out. Because what they did last week that they didn't do the week prior before they were kind of taking some shit, but they were a little bit more over the middle of the field. I think I got the PFF numbers here, but for them, they had 6.3 yards per attempt in that medium range, that 10 to 19 yard range with 25% completion percentage. And in the Central Michigan game, that was against Oklahoma. In the Central Michigan game, they had 9.8 yards per attempt, 46% completion percentage, and utilized that part of the field a lot more. And they brought the deep passes back down from 16.4 yards per attempt to 13.6. So kind of bringing that down, but they were a higher percentage in that intermediate area. So kind of that medium to short yardage range is going to be where the game is won and lost. And if Nebraska can, like I said, stay in their responsibilities and really not fall into that play action, that RPO, I think they'll have a lot of success. Can you back out, come back in? Mm-hmm. Where do you have it happen? And if y'all are in here, drop your score predictions in the comments. I've seen a couple y'all doing it already, and we'll dive into your comments here in just a little bit as well. So keep dropping your score predictions in there, and we'll go through those as we go along. So, all right, we got him back in here. Cool. All right, cool. No echo. So we're good to go on that. Okay. And then, so looking offensively, they're going to be kind of, again, doing a lot of those riding the mesh points, but they're also going to be moving the pocket a lot. So they're going to be riding, not only are they going to be doing that RPO mesh, but they're going to be blocking left, having Bryce roll right, and there you're going to throw, sometimes they'll have a route up the seam. So even in our deep level, they're going to be smart with this. I think now that Chip Lindsey's given him the full green light, I think that's going to give him the ability to create a lot more. And that's why I'm saying just throw the Oklahoma game out, because he didn't have that ability in that game.
Where I like Nebraska's defense in this game is the secondary versus the Michigan wide receiver core. I don't think they have a very good wide receiver core. But I also don't think this is a game where you can put 8 guys in the box and just force them to throw it, because of what you just mentioned. They're going to do a lot of play action rollouts and have an easy target, in the flat, or maybe like you said, up the seam. And that will be hard to cover if you're basically 7-8 guys in the box the entire game, because then you're more than likely in main coverage. But I do like in this situation, if you can make it so Michigan has to throw it more than they want to, which I think they're going to try and throw it, 15, 16, 17, 18 times, very limited. But if you can get them out of that and airing it out a little bit more, it sets you up for a lot more success. Our defensive backs are playing at an elite level right now, I think.
Correct. Let me pull up a little bit of this for y'all, give you just some clips of what you're probably going to see. And hold on one second. Let me move that for just a quick second. Make sure I got all my clips there. Cool. All right. So actually, how do I make this to where y'all can't see? I don't want y'all to see my Google Drive and see the name of the person that shares these with me. All right. Oops. All right. So I'm just going to play a few clips of their first drive here. And it's not going to be too terribly much, but I'm just going to kind of show you in essence what I'm talking about. So initially off rip here, we'll let it run. If it'll play. Well, why is nothing want to play now? Okay, well, it seems to be frozen in time. Hold on one second. All right, let me figure out what's going on with this and why it won't play. Okay, for some reason when I full screen it, it doesn't want to play. Let's try it again. There we go. All right. Maybe not.
Technology and stuff.
Dude, what is going on? It just all of a sudden doesn't want to now it'll play. Okay, so when it's not full screen, whatever. We'll just let it run. I don't care if you'll see it. All right, so we're seeing the motion coming across. So we're going to see a lot of motions, but I want you to watch his blocking. They're going to be blocking left, right. So we're going to see this pass out. Okay, so watch the blocking though. This is what I want to just to break it down in the layman for y'all. I want y'all to pay attention.
Motion guy was the lead blocker there too.
Right, and I want y'all to pay attention to the blocking on each play. Even though, see, that was a pass outside. Now you got him right here, right, waiting for that pass, but they're going to do the handoff in the middle, and you're going to see him coming to the inside. Now everything kind of, again, mirrors look similar. I think this might be the run. No, this ain't it. But watch it from this area right here. So you kind of see how those lanes form, right? So the key right here is going to be able to stack this box and just fill up these cutback lanes as much as possible, because Justice Haynes is going to be looking for as many cutback lanes as he possibly can. So trying to fill those voids in right there, that was more of a run. Let's let it run a little bit more. Play this one for you here. Okay. Now we got the motion man coming across. Now there's a wrinkle they're going to throw in here in a second. So again, you see the blocking setting up. Now pay attention to how the blocking sets up on each play, because they're going to disguise some of their runs as some of their passes as blocking for some of these runs. And you see right up here, right? You see that man kind of coming free over there for the RPO, right? Hands it off to that outside. There's one thing for instance here, I think this is where Justice Haynes has an actual cutback lane that he misses. So we need some of this right here. Yeah, we need some of that right here. We need some of this vision throughout the game right here. So if he's missing stuff like this, he tries to bounce it outside and he's isn't able to get any yards out of it. So coming up here a little further, let me see, where is and then this is, I think, the pass down the field that they try to run off of it. Okay, so there's the run. So let me go up a little bit more. They try to do this pass down the field, and this is what we're going to need to be looking for in our secondary. And this is kind of what I get to, just them disguising certain things. I think it's 5 right here. I think it's disguising certain things with these runs, and then so here's where he starts moving the pocket. So you see a motion right here. You see the inside give on that mesh point, and then you see him ride the pocket right. But you see a couple routes slipping out here. Now there's a route earlier where they run about 4 hitches across the field, and that's about it. And they sneak a little running back into the flat here. Now this one right here, you got a couple of these flat routes coming out, and then you're going to run a couple little hitches. You got a hitch up here, and then you have this guy running up the seam. And this is where I'm talking about, where we have to stay home, where our defense has to be smart, because this is a sneaky little play right here that they can run. If you're not expecting him to be able to beat you over the top, and you kind of let your defense draw down a little bit, too complacent coming down to the box, then all of a sudden he's able to float that over the top. You know what I'm saying? So that's where Nebraska has to be really, really sound in their defensive structure. And they have to really make sure that every single person knows their job and is doing their job effectively. that we can beat this team. If that the problem against Cincinnati was just the fact that they punished our lack of aggression and they punish us moving laterally. That's what that zone blocking does. So if we continue to just sit there and we shuffle laterally and we don't come down and fill these gaps and fill the holes and we allow these cutback lanes to open up, they're going to feast on us, and it will be a long day, like you said. But I think since we had the Cincinnati film, I think that is the key in this game that's going to make them be able to trigger downhill a lot more effectively. And I think they got a lot of it on film now with a mobile quarterback in Cincinnati as well. How to effectively do that with still keeping your contains without opening too much of a lane to get them to escape. And so I think it's going to be an uphill battle. I don't think we're going to stop them by any stretch, but I think we can slow them enough to win this game.
Now, is Soresby a better quarterback than Underwood, in your opinion? Just curious. I think he's probably not as good of a thrower.
It's not
a better runner.
It's not a better quarterback. He's a more experienced quarterback. I think he's going to make. I think Soresby is a quarterback that's going to have less chance of making a big mistake. I think Bryce Underwood has a higher ceiling, but also a lower floor. I think Soresby is more, kind of in this where Bryce Underwood's, he could probably throw for 300 or he could throw for 3 interceptions. That's the difference between the two.
I remember I was watching some of the film that Coach Rose Ivy put out, and he showed a clip where he was talking about the same thing, like staying home, knowing your assignments. And it was like the first play of the game, and he almost threw an interception. It was because he didn't read the coverage. This is where Nebraska is going to get a little wonky, I think, this week. I think they're going to do a lot of unique coverages to make this as complicated as possible. Think back to John Butler's quote 2 weeks ago where he said it was at some point where it was like Soresby didn't know what coverage we were running and then just decided to stop throwing the ball. They're going to try and do that same thing to Underwood. While, yes, incredibly talented, just like Dillon, 5-star, number 1 overall quarterback or whatever, you're going to have these ebbs and flows, and the college game is completely different than the high school game. Nebraska has to make the coverages more complex than they had the last 2 weeks, obviously, because they're playing a bunch of nobodies. So that's where I think Nebraska is going to get a little different this week. I think they kept it very vanilla. They didn't want to put a bunch of stuff on tape. And then also, too, with the pass rush aggressiveness or lack thereof, I guess you've seen that at least start to come out a little bit over the last couple of weeks. You saw a big sack from Marcus Watson-Trent. They saw McCullough as well. This is a week where they need to completely wreak havoc for Nebraska.